Hello, welcome to another edition of Trial by Magis, filming on location here on the CIS server. Today we're going to be going over basics of heavy fighter tactics, featuring this, the premium Tier 3 Dornier Do.17 Z-7 Kaus, heavy fighter. Now, the Dornier 17 is one of the Luftwaffe's venerable aircraft. She was in action at the beginning of the war and went through multiple phases leading up to this right here, the Kaus Night Fighter. Now, it's not equipped on this right here because there's really no need for it, but this version of the aircraft was intended to be a night fighter, carrying airborne radar and using the heavy guns up here that replace the bombardier position in the forward glass over nose cone in order to interdict night flying bombers of the Royal Air Force. And they did so with some success. This was done because the Dornier 17 Z7, as a high altitude Schnell bomber, was no longer relevant after a certain point in the war because its speed was overcome by later aircraft, fighters, that were faster than it. And the entire idea of a Schnell bomber is that you're faster than the fighters. The moment that you're no longer faster than them, you are obsolete. So, Germany was left with a bunch of bomber airframes that they could not do much with. So those that were still using the bomber role were moved to fronts where advanced fighter aircraft opposition did not exist, and a number of them were converted into this role to put up resistance against the increasing frequency and strength of British night bombing raids. And the Do.17 Z-7 Kaus is a very easy and simple heavy fighter to use. If you are familiar with German fighters like the Messerschmitt Bf 109B, the tactics used here are very much the same, only the speeds at which you are fighting and the manner in which you can turn is quite a bit more extreme. In simpler terms, the Dornier here is faster and turns much more like a brick compared to the Bf 109. The Dornier 17 is outstanding for combating enemy heavy fighters. She's fairly low tier and has good turning ability compared to other twin-engine aircraft, and she is the perfect choice for hunting down the bomber variant of the same aircraft or Tier 3 British Blenheim light bombers. She's also good for engaging enemy German heavy fighters like the FW-57 or even the Bf 110B. If you can get onto that 110's 6, you can still do a lot of damage to them even though it's a tier higher. Just manage to keep your energy state in mind, manage your energy well against them, and you can do quite a bit in this thing, even though it is quote-unquote merely a premium. Let's take a look at pilot skills that I recommend. Now, being a heavy fighter, I do recommend that you concentrate entirely on Engine Guru to begin with. After that, you might want to consider the marksman ability for increased damage. You might also want to consider the aerodynamics expert in order to continue to increase your speed. There are a couple of special pilot abilities that might be useful. Cruise flight is okay for moving from one side of the map to the other, but if you are doing what you're supposed to do and you're involved in combat most of the time, the cruise flight isn't going to be active. So, yeah. Choose the pilot skills to fit your style of combat. It's one of the few things you can actually customize about your aircraft in warplanes anymore. So put a lot of thought into that and see what is going to be the most efficient build available for your playstyle. Let's take a look at the gunner here. The gunner ability I've taken Armorer here so I can get access to the increased range from Ballistics Expert. Other good choices on this aircraft would be the Precision Gunner to make critical hits much more frequent with that rear gun, or you could go for Defensive Fire, which provides your aircraft with a defensive buff, which decreases the damage done by an enemy aircraft you're firing at by 30%, and that's considerable, and a very good use of a 7.92mm single machine gun that otherwise does no damage. Optional equipment recommendations. Obviously, cockpit slot, I'm going to recommend the optical sight to increase the damage of her 4 main guns even more. The Dornier is more susceptible to fires than, say, the 109B is, so I've opted for the fire extinguisher here instead of the medical pack. The airframe does not get to have a modification here, but you do eventually get a consumable for it, and for that I would recommend, well, whatever feels good there. For the engine, I recommend the uprated engine strongly, because it's increasing the biggest strength of the aircraft, your speed. Secondly, I would recommend the bottle for manual engine restart, because a dead engine on a heavy fighter means a dead heavy fighter. Forward-firing weapons. I have mounted the gas-operated action to increase the rate of fire. I like to hold my fire on the Dornier until I've got a really good shot, and the increased rate of fire allows for a 4% increase in damage. And finally, always, always, always mount universal ammunition. It starts fires. Fires are what? That's right, free damage. This is a premium aircraft, so there are no upgrades available. Of note here, I do carry the 4 SC-100 bombs into combat with this thing. You get yourself onto a map where you need to blow up a big target, those 4 bombs are perfect for that. Just so long as you don't mind getting into the mix a bit, because this thing is not a bomber, it can't do the high altitude drops, so you've got to do either a sharp or shallow dive attack and use that speed to get into and out of that danger zone over a target before you turn around, regain your altitude, and reset for your next attack. I have a battle now for you here, also filmed on the CIS server, demonstrating the tactics I use in the Do.17 Z-7. Again, this is going to show you everything you need to know about flying German heavy fighters as you progress your way up the tier. Good hunting.
Show me what you can do, pilots. Let's roll. line of thunderstorms is approaching. We'll soon be unable to provide support. Do you copy? Over. Keep it up. Victory is almost ours. Victory is ours. We're waiting for your return.